told about Rav Saadia Gaon, or Rav Hai Gaon, that he was very wealthy. He lived in Bavel, and every year he would buy new dishes, new chinaware for Pesach. And he would send one of his servants to dunk the dishes, the new chinaware, in one of the rivers, which is as required. And the servant, one year, while dunking the dishes, the chinaware, expensive dishes, he lost grip of one of the dishes, and it went downstream, and he couldn't manage to grab it back. And he saw the dish going downstream, and he didn't know what to do. He was embarrassed. He didn't say anything about it. He felt Rav Saadia is so wealthy anyways, it doesn't make such a difference. So he didn't tell him. The next year, when Rav Saadia ordered new dishes, new chinaware for Pesach, so he sent again the same servant to go to dunk the dishes by the river. And the same servant, while he was dunking the new chinaware, the new dishes, he sees coming downstream from above him the dish from last year. And he quickly grabbed it. It was intact. He couldn't believe it. And he said, "Now I can't remain quiet. I have to tell Rav Saadia about this unbelievable miracle, this his good fortune." So he came back home and he told Rav Saadia what happened. And he said, I was embarrassed. I didn't tell you last year because it bothered me. But now I couldn't remain quiet. I had to tell you after seeing such a miracle. So Rav Saadia said to him, he started to cry and to scream, like to pull out his hair and to scream. And the servant felt so bad. Look, I made him feel. He didn't understand. He felt so bad because of this. He was hurt even more. So right after this incident, after Pesach, suddenly Rav Saadia began to, one after the next, lose his wealth. He lost property, there was a fire, theft. He began to lose thing after thing, piece by piece, until he was left with nothing. Nothing. And he had no choice. He fired all of his servants. He had to let go of everything. He had to sell his mansion. He had absolutely nothing. And it took a process. It started for a few years. And after about 10 years later, this servant ended up in Egypt. And he took his hands to trade, and he became very successful. His mazal went up, and he became very, very wealthy. One day when he was in the marketplace in Alexandria buying and selling, he saw like a pauper, a beggar, in the marketplace, walking around like dazed, like a drunk person in a way, torn clothing, dirty. And the trader, this wealthy man who was once the servant of Rav Saadia, he looked closely at the pauper, and he saw that it was no other than Rav Saadia himself. He quickly ran up to him and he said, Rav Saadia, do you remember me?" And he looked at him, Rav Saadia, and he saw him, and he fainted. Fainted for whatever reason, poverty, whatever. So the servant quickly took him to his home. He brought doctors and all types of medication, whatever, to take care of him. It's not just some like disease or anything. It's something which is deep in his subconscious, and because he's such a wise man, the trauma and the effect of the disease is going very deep, and we don't know how to heal him. So he said, "So what to do? How can I help him? I owe him so much. He helped me, he sustained me, he was such a good master. How can I help him?" They said, "We heard of some very special healer, doctor, who knows all types of herbs and things, and how to do things which are very rare, but it's going to cost you a lot of money, and he's all the way in Cyprus." So he said, "I'm willing to do this for Rav Saadia." So he sent messengers by ship to quickly bring this healer, this doctor from Cyprus. He came to Alexandria, and he looked at the condition of Rav Saadia. Rav Saadia was like for a few minutes conscious, his eyes open, and then a few minutes not, whatever. He could barely talk, barely move. So the healer looked at him, and he gave a diagnosis, whatever he can do. And he said he's very sick. And like they said also, it's something in his subconscious, deep. What I can suggest is like this. There's one very, very, very expensive herb, and you have to get a lot of it, and boil it down, condense it to a spoonful, and then give it to Rav Saadia by his mouth, and then possibly he'll get better. So again, the servant, dedicated, who's now very wealthy, he spent the money, he got this herb, a lot of it, boiled it down like the healer told him to, and they condensed it to 1 tablespoon, 1 teaspoon, whatever. And they told Rav Saadia, because again he was times conscious, times not conscious, take this, open your mouth now so we can put this in your mouth. So they leaned him forward and they're about to put the spoon in his mouth, and suddenly a spider which was on the ceiling fell directly on into the spoon right before they're about to put it in his mouth, and everything splashed, all gone, on his beard, on his coat, on the blankets, all gone. And the servant, he was so broken because he invested so much time and money and energy and effort to help Rav Saadia, and as if it was in vain. And all of a sudden he sees a smile in Rav Saadia's face, and he felt like this is the end, like he's about to die. That's how he felt. So he said, "Listen, Rav Saadia, I don't understand." He was conscious while I was talking to him. I said, "You remember when I told you about the dish? You were crying then, and you should have been happy. And now you should be crying. We tried everything to help you, and it's not going to work out, and you're just getting weak, and we're losing you now. Now you're smiling." So he's able to muster strength, and he said like this. He said, "Back then, everything was too good to be true. I was on the top of life, physically, spiritually, mentally, I had everything. And life is like a wheel, galgal hachozer, like the Gemara says, that the life is like a wheel, that once you're on top, but then the wheel goes down, and the wheel of fortune, you go down. But once you're down, you go back up again. That's how it is, like a wheel. I was on the top, and on top of everything, when you told me about the dish, everything was too good to be true. From heaven, you're telling me that I'm at the top. Now I have to watch it." And that's why I started to cry, because I knew that I was beginning now the downhill approach, which is what actually happened. And now, when I have nothing, I'm rock bottom. I have nothing. I have no health. I have no finances. And obviously I can't study Torah like I used to. And everything is upside down in my life. I'm in total exile. And on top of that, on this darkness, it's not enough. But people are trying to help me, and they invest so much money and effort and everything, and still it didn't help. And on top of that, and now with this spoon that you got ready to put in my mouth, and the spider came to splash it, Hashem is showing me now that I'm rock bottom. I'm at the exact bottom, opposite of where I was 10 years ago, which means now the wheel's going to switch again, and things are going to get better, which is what actually happened. He became better without any medication, any treatment. He became to recuperate and everything until he got back on his feet. And this is a big message in life. This happens over again and again and again, that sometimes people get overwhelmed of the darkness and the difficulties of what they're going through, and you have to hold on. We spoke about it last week, but the idea is again that when things are too dark, get ready for the up. It can't get darker. You're in dark, you're at the maximum. You admit you're at the maximum. There's no lower to fall. You feel totally far and totally lowered. So this is the beginning of the up. They say, it's brought down, so the sign related to the month of Shvat is a dli, a bucket. One of the explanations given why is it a bucket is because it's to lower yourself, and when you lower yourself, then you can be filled. You can fill yourself up. So the month of Shvat is propitious for breaking a person's haughtiness, if you want to say, to lower himself so he can receive. So that's an attitude in life, and we should be zoche to always be positive. And when things seem so dark, get ready for something big. Not just an up, but a major up in life. Bezat Hashem.